very interesting combinations, because once they want to make some very interesting statements, they'll say, I saw in my dream, God told me, God prophesied to me. So let's hear from the horse's mouth what God exactly told David Umahi.
Because this administration, let me first tell you that you call me a pastor, I'm also a prophet, and you must know that the coming on board of Mr. President is divine. And when God starts a thing, he completes it. So I strongly believe, and I'm persuaded to let you know that God told me that because this administration is born of God, and you can see the miracles that Mr. President is doing through the inspiration of God Almighty, who brought him to right all the wrongs and reset this country. So we take him back this country. He will give him back this country to Nigerians, and that's simply what Mr. President has come to do. And so we are just there to support him. The question you're asking about the concrete technology, I'm very happy that the National Assembly members, there were some of them very critical of the technology of concrete, and I took them through what high tech. And for me, high tech has come to be the number one, construction company in Nigeria.
All right. Well, that is David Umahi telling him how God, will make sure that the president will stay 8 years in office.
It's really amazing because I sampled Rufai OSENI's opinion yesterday on this particular comment, and he actually said that he thought Umahi was an engineer. Rather than a prophet, but we've seen his prophetics, let me call it that, work in the past couple of elections. I think it was 2024. In 2020, he prophesied that this guy is going to win his re-election bid, and that's the governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, and it happened. And he has said it. Let's see if Prophet Umahi, his statement will work. But let's move on to that and get to hear another statement. Yesterday, we saw an interview, and this one is very intentional. We're going to play both sides. The interviewer asking a question. Senator Jarigbe, the man representing Cross River North Senatorial District, was asked in a live interview about the 2024 budget, the scrutiny, and the controversy around it. And this was what ensued during that particular conversation. I don't want to say it, just listen to it and make your opinion out of it.
All right, sir. I do find it so fascinating that a senator would say that the budget was not scrutinized by himself line by line, when I myself have scrutinized the budget line by line. But what can I say there? I think now let's move on to the issue of the CNG initiatives coming out of the federal government.
You scrutinized the budget line by line?
Yes, sir.
Did you?
Yes, sir.
Did you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what's the budget of your senatorial district where you come from?
Sorry, sir?
What's the total budgetary provision for your senatorial district where you come from?
You're asking me for the arithmetic of my senatorial district. I scrutinize it by ministry. So if you want, I can tell you your budget in different ministries if you wish to. I have quoted your own budget to you today.
Okay.
Yes. But let's move on to the CNG initiative if you're willing to. I mean, I was not elected by the people of Cross River North. You were. It is your duty, I believe, not mine. But let's move on to your duty as a chairman of the Committee on Gas. Do you want to do that? Let's talk about the CNG initiative by the federal government. Is it coming?
What's this budget talk now? I want to talk about my Thanksgiving and my representation to my people. People are doing budget. I'll walk away.
Well, I think we're going to go on a quick... You want me to say something that
I will go and face Wahala. You should allow me. Let me serve my people quietly.
Senator, you have spoken about your Thanksgiving and...
Oh my, Senator Jarigbe is just a comedian in the floor of the House. He said, categorically, that you want me to go and say something that will enter wahala. Please leave me alone. No. When Ningi said it, he faced suspension. Still on the budget.
We're still seeing the aftermath of
exactly.
Ningi's suspension.
And now you're saying I should come and talk about the budget. Bro, you say, the funny part is, what is this budget talk
I will
now?
leave people
Really funny. But one thing we need to take out of this, I don't know if you heard his opening statement and what the lady concurred. He said he did not. He, as a senator representing a particular constituency, did not scrutinize or even peruse the provisions of that particular budget he assented to, that he approved that they should pass. So when you look at it, this raises a lot. Yes, the laughter part, the funny part is cool to make us feel good with the troubles we are facing as Nigerians. But the problem is, we have senators who are not there representing the interests of their people. We have senators who are sitting there lackadaisically having a great time, living on the largest of their allowances and salaries, living on the emails, prayers being sent to their email addresses, without even doing what their constituents have sent them there to do. How will a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria categorically states that he did not scrutinize the provision of the budget? And then you get to ask yourself, who are those we've voted for?
When it comes to this particular situation, anyway, let's not even flog it. We'll get more reactions to it during the front page review. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by El-Rufai OSENI to look through the headlines with us this morning. Stay with us.
It's thrilling,
Good morning to you and welcome. This is Voice of the People, 96.1 FM. This is also the front page review. And my name is Gesere.
And I am Simeon Sunday. Welcome to the show.
Don't forget that we're live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. Join us on YouTube, Voice of the People Abuja. And to also be a part of the show, you can call our number on WhatsApp and regular call as well, 0700 010 961 961. 0700 010 961 961.
Okay, we have Rufai OSENI on the line this morning. Good morning to you, Rufai.
Bless you guys. How are you? Happy Easter again.
Happy Easter to you.
Happy Easter. But before we get straight to the conversation for today, I'm sure you saw the interview with Senator Jarigbe on your platform, where he said he did not even bother scrutinizing the budget provision of the budget, 2024 budget, and said he would rather talk more about the Thanksgiving service of his administration. What do you have to say about that?
But I mean, it's in tandem of what we would have always said now, that those budgets were padded and those guys would never do a thorough job at reading those budgets. See, let me tell you something. You have over close to 2,000 pages of line items. Those guys will never do a thorough job at reading it. Even when they do their group review, it's always still problematic. So, and that's always the way, and that's why it's so easy for them to use the sneaking projects in there. And when we say they padded, they start to say, no, it's not true. Now they're trying to recall Ningi at the back because they know that Ningi said, I'm going to rat you guys out, I'm going to take you guys to court. So there's so much that happens, but all of this just at the expense of Nigeria. I just want to enjoin them that please be there more about the electorate. So what do you expect Abure to able to say? They're not going to say anything. They've settled the matter, they've settled the matter. They've off the mic. That's just it. So they're telling Nigerians, move on. We're going to talk about budget now again. and open another can of worms. Can't you even see that Ningi that opened them up? They're trying to call Ningi at the back and say, Ningi, please come. Let's just settle this. And probably before you know, once Ningi is recalled, all of this budget talk will be over. So that's just it. So
Okay.
Let's try to hold that.
But truly, he made a remark that he doesn't want to say something that will put him in wahala. So when you get to hear senators make such remark openly, publicly on live television, it begs to ask the question about their character. Whose interests truly are they representing in the floor of the House? Who wants to put you in wahala? You should be worried about your constituents.
I mean, the truth you and I know is that they are not there to represent their constituents. They are there to represent themselves, their political aspirations, the fact that they can be called senators, and their own rise of the political ladder. That's what they're to represent. It is you, the people, now that have to now selfish and make them represent you by holding them accountable. That's justice. But if you are not ready to hold them accountable, they're not there to represent you. Please don't get it mixed up.
All right. In the news today, we're seeing the president jetting out on the inauguration of the Senegalese president, and we've had conversations about just how good the Senegalese election was. I mean, they didn't see as much litigations as we saw during ours, and they've touchlighted a couple of some think tanks rather in Nigeria. They've checked out some of the highlights of the Senegalese elections, and comparing that to ours here in Nigeria, you begin to ask the question of integrity and ensuring that there's an integrity in the process of the elections. What exactly is your thought on that?
At first, we need to learn a lot from the Senegalese people. They knew what they wanted. So even when the state brought out its minds to stop them from protesting, they kept on protesting. Secondly, they have a strong judiciary. We need to learn that. Thirdly, they are able to go for what they want and bring about accountability in their system. This they did in the electoral process. The people came out. Over 71% of the electorate, over 7 million of them came out. Today, we record a lot of voter apathy. Nigerians are not even interested in election. You want to change the country. You don't come out to vote. We don't come out to vote. Even this last election that there was a lot of fraud, we didn't get up to 50% voter turnout in the presidential election. So Nigerians have just resorted to faith. But these Senegalese people, the true strength of their democracy over the years is because the people say we have to make our country good. This is the fifth president Senegal is going to have, but it's always been incumbent on the people from the time of Leopold Senghor to Diouf to what's his name now, Abdoulaye Wade, to Macky Sall, to Basiru Jaffa Diomaye. It's always about being the people's will. Anyway, you will say that the Senegalese have learned over time too, because you had very sit-tight presidents like the likes of Leopold Senghor and the likes of Diouf that sit tight for a while. But the truth has to be said. Democracy is about the people. And until Nigerians respect that, and they will not move forward. How are Nigerians going to learn that when they are more concerned about tribalism? I mean, we're saying the Nigeria airline is flying abroad. People are busy talking about Ishiagu. Yeah? They are just doing all sorts of things, against airpeace that is carrying Nigeria's flag abroad. And you see a lot of talk. So we are divided. And you see, it's this division that the politicians exploit. Until we'll now recognize that we can do so much more when we are united in the voice of unity to do to condemn evil, then we'll move forward. And the politicians will keep on taking us for granted. And that's why division thrives in Nigeria. So there are a lot of lessons. It's not about coalition. And that's why when I hear Atiku and say, the coalition and everything. No. There are other salient points, yes, but it's not about the coalition. It's about the power of the people. A political party used to say power to the people. The Senegalese election is the real slogan that shows the real power to the people, not like the one the political party slogan is in Nigeria. The real Senegalese election are the real power to the people. Because the people own the ace in democracy. And that's what the politicians do. And that's why they constantly divide the people. The first thing they do is to divide the people along religious and along tribal lines. But we can't grow that way.
Okay, that being said, let's talk about the statement credited to the spokesperson of the Obi-Datti campaign, Yunusa Tanko. He appeared on live television yesterday, sister channel, and he got to talk about, how Abure dismissed Peter Obi's advice for an all-inclusive convention. We know that the convention has elicited a lot of reaction from even some Labour Party stalwarts that this convention doesn't even hold water.
No, just wait for it. I'm having network cut soon. Just
okay. Can you hear us though? Hello.
All right. He did say you'd have a network cut. All right. We're still looking at the Abure's issue and Peter Obi as well as the Labour Party. Let's check out. Let's get to listen to. Okay. Hello. All right. Let's try and find exactly what was said by Abure and Labour Party. I think I have that.
Okay, that should be Tanko. Yes. Hello. Are you here? Okay.
Including our principal, everybody should have gone back to his word to build the structure of the party. It could have been an advantageous situation for all of us. There wouldn't be any.
All right.
Anyway, apologies for that. We're
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, guys?
We can hear you now. We can hear you now.
So, as regards Peter Obi and Abure and what Tanko said, truth has to be said. See, the Labour Party stinks as we speak today. So it's not about Peter Obi giving advice. In the first place, isn't Abure supposed to know what the tenets are supposed to be for a proper convention of the party? So it's not about Peter Obi giving advice. It's about the party has been hijacked. And I see a lot of contention of forces. And the Labour Party has now become a shame to Nigeria. This was the same party a lot of Nigerians could be. And you see, that's why I say it's about people's interest. You didn't hear all these squabbles. It was when success came to Labour Party that I heard of it. So it's not about what Tanko is saying that, okay, Peter Obi tried to give them aside. It's about the party has been hijacked. And it will take a while for the party to be able to remove itself. At first, they blame the media Papa for being the problem. So people have now said that it's not about a Papa. It's about the fact that the party and the structure stinks. That's what we speak. And let's say it the way it is. Yes.
All right. So without the Peter Obi's, influence into the Labour Party, then we couldn't have seen a vibrant Labour Party in 2023's elections.
Obviously, I mean, without Obi put into the Labour Party, you have known a Labour Party in that. A viable, strong candidate. So let's not deceive ourselves.
Okay, let's move away from that particular report and let's talk about the NEC, who are currently sitting over the state police, as well as, the plan to have a forest guard in the country. Remember the last time we had this conversation about state policing, we heard that some states, over 12 states, were yet to even submit their reports. And we haven't even gotten an update on that one to know which governors have submitted and which are not yet to submit theirs. Now, with the issue of state policing, will we see this pull through? Because we're still talking about state policing. Governors are also suggesting forest guards as well. Which one are we taking over the other?
It's just at the stage of proposal. So when the some states have not taken their word, it's just a proposal. After the proposal, the group that is ratified, before it's now taken through all two-thirds of all the legislators all over the country, over 7 of them have to now vote on it. And the central legislature has to now vote on this before you now finally get a way out of it. So there's so many processes involved. So it's just at the stage of proposal now. They're just taking proposals. So it's not even, it's still a long shot away. If it's going to be possible.
Yeah, we understand that it's a proposal. Yes, we know that, because at the end of the day, it will be scrutinized. We'll see which will work and which will not work. But at the end of the day, when you put too much cards on the table, doesn't it make the soup too salty at the end of the day? Let's face one and see how we can even see the end to it, rather than having multiple options.
So to a large extent, I've also seen a lot of people argue against it. We must find a system that works. The argument against it has always been, you put in state police, and the government is not going to hijack it. That's another valid argument. But some people will tell you quickly, how much people was not hijacked by Akeredolu. The question is, how many people will be the way Akeredolu has been? But we must be able to find a reason that works as regards policing. Honestly. must be able to find a rhythm that works as regards policing. Because what are we combating here? Crime. So the paramount responsibility, how can we stop crime?
Okay, anyway, that's great. But before we let you go, quickly, let's talk about Ondo elections coming up very soon. And then for the Ondo election, we've seen almost all the governorship aspirants under the APC. Now they are now thronging in their numbers to Abuja to come and see the man at the center to get, his blessings and his endorsements. How many people will the president endorse under one party in one state?
I think the president very much has a path to what he wants to do in Ondo. To a large extent, I do not see a large deviation from the incumbents. It's very hard, except Obi-Datti has not played his cards right. It's very hard that he will not emerge. Seen other people there, El-Rufai, a couple of other people.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
So it's very hard to deviate from an incumbent. So, I mean, the president probably tell our people that go ahead. They will not tell them to solve the issue, but pretty much in the end, they know who will emerge.
All right. Thank you so much for your time this morning. All right. Have a good day. All right, to you listening, you have the opportunity to let us know what you think about our headlines this morning on YouTube. It is at Voice of the People Abuja, Voice of the People Abuja, and then you can also call in 0700 010 961 961.
So hit us up via all our platforms and let's get talking this morning. In a bit, we'll be reaching out to Larry Ogwegu, who will be talking about some of the headlines we have this morning. But before that, let's quickly go pay some bills. We'll be right back.
Voice of the People, 96.1 FM.
₦1,000 on adverts and get 10 slots of jingles for free. So call Sal on 0817 992 9729 for more information. Happy Easter.
Are you aware that Iruka Online Limited installed and designed a 100,000 capacity church building? Oh yeah, we are the sole distributors of global leading brands all over the world, such as Wafday Line Array, speakers and digital amplifiers, Preseno's digital mixers and studio equipment, Coswell workstations and keyboards, Fender guitars, Mapex drums, Ashdown bass combos, just to mention but a few. We offer flexible payment plan handled by our financial department with 24/7 customer care support system. You can visit our website on www.iruka.com to avoid buying fake products. You can also visit our showroom at number 36 Lagos International Airport Road beside Golden Tulip Hotel. Iruka, never settle for less.
I'm coming in hot.
Now, you can enjoy the original taste of premium American Romeo's Pizza. Juicy, just the way you like it. To order online from Guarimpa, call 090-8831-5908. Gariki 090-8831-5906. And Lupe 090-9238-9861. Romeo's Pizza, the pizza champions.
Coming in hot, just like the
Meet us on YouTube, Insta, and Twitter at Voice of the People 96.1 FM.
area that is very sophisticated, that we should get experts to sit down and look at possible solutions. Whether we are using state police or forest guards or whatever, there has to be a strategy. And that strategy has to be deployed with a political way to make it work. It is sad that people decided to go home for Easter. And first of all, they didn't get home when they ought to. Secondly, they lost everything to fire and armed robbers. And we are so used to these stories that people are now almost dead in their emotions. People don't even, people are tired of responding to the stories. And that is the worst thing that can happen to us, where we get used to that which is bad. That is, it's not normal. When people are attacked, it's normal. When people die, say, hey, yeah, it's normal. And God forbid that we should get used to this kind of thing. I think we shouldn't stop talking, but most importantly, we shouldn't stop planning. I think also that we need to begin to think of how to have proper conversations around these topics. If the government is not talking, maybe we should start thinking of our own security summits, our own. I mean, we can't just wait until all of us are slaughtered. We shouldn't continue to agonize. We should begin to organize. If they are not interested in protecting us, just like it has happened in some villages and hamlets and cities, you see people installing gates to protect themselves. You communities starting vigilante groups and all of that. But the truth is that what gives the government legitimacy is their capacity to police the nation. One of the things that gives the government legitimacy is security. When you remove security and welfare, there is no government really. So I hope our politicians will understand that we can't continue reacting. We can't continue pursuing robbers and bandits. We need to sit down and create solutions. We should realize that if we don't solve the security problem, every other problem we are solving is just academic. Because without having a secure environment, you can't pursue any other thing. You can't pursue your education. You can't pursue your business. You cannot travel. You can't go to the farm. You can't do anything. So I don't know if they are thinking about these things. All the roads you are constructing, I can't drive on them personally. So why are you doing the roads? I mean, you need to prioritize security so that every other thing can fall into place when you finish them. And I don't think they are listening. Okay. And it's not impossible to do this. We can do it. But we need politicians who are interested in the welfare of the people. What they have done is to protect themselves. So when we talk about insecurity, they don't fully appreciate it. They can't travel in the night by bus. They can't be robbed by robbers. So they don't understand the threats under which we exist. Okay. But I hope that somehow we'll get them to understand.
Okay, quickly, let's move on and talk about the crisis rocking the Rivers State House of Assembly as well as the governor himself. And we've seen the move to impeach Governor Similai, Fubara of Rivers State. But right
These guys are not willing to let go. My take is that Fubara won the election, and whether he was sponsored or supported or not, he has won the election. He should be allowed to lead the state by both the members of the National Assembly and his erstwhile godfather. That is common sense. Unfortunately, for them, it's a fight to finish a matter. That's they want to drag this matter until somebody is embarrassed. But my own problem is that while these two elephants are fighting, the grass is suffering. The governor is being distracted from the core job of governance. Rather than legislators look at important things to legislate upon, they are threatening to impeach the governor. I'm expecting that now that it's obvious that the peace brokered by Mr. President has failed, I'm challenging the elders of thought in Rivers State to rise up to the occasion, not on the basis of party now, because sometimes when you have this kind of sincerity that transcends selfish or party interest, you may be able to break a jinx. I think the real elders of the state, not the political elders, the real elders of the state should rise up to the occasion and talk to both the former governor and the present governor, not just on the basis of making peace in the sense of, oh, if this is what he wants, give him all that. Peace based on principle. And that kind of peace should be done in such a way that any party that is indifferent to the overtures of peace, then the real elders of the land, the owners of the people who own Rivers State are Rivers people, should actually take a decision to protect their state from unnecessary and undue intervention. And this is possible. It's just that most of the time, because of what we locally call longer truth, our people respond to money so much that you see adults behaving like children who are offered rice and meat on Christmas Day. So you drop some dollars and they just run like chicken towards grains of corn. But if not for that, I don't see why we should be talking about this matter. Rivers people should take a position. We have a governor. The governor should be allowed to govern. House of Assembly, go and do more important things. Leave this young man alone. If he fails on his own, then let it be. But I don't think he deserves this kind of distraction. And the people who are suffering are the Rivers people. So I think somebody should be told to leave Rivers alone. All of the people, not only the erstwhile governor, but everybody that is promoting this madness should be made to realize that they are sabotaging the democratic culture of this nation. It's not only about Rivers. It's embarrassing to Nigeria. We can't be talking about foreign investments. We can't be talking about all of these things we're talking about. And the world is watching and all this drama is happening. For how many months? It's a shame that people who have risen to the position of being governors and they are still in national limelight as leaders are causing this level of distraction on both sides of the divide, and they are not allowing this man to have some peace to lead the state. It's not right. The Rivers people should begin to think of how to liberate their state. It's incumbent on the elders to liberate their state, to talk to every party that is stoking this fire, that enough is enough. We can't continue like this.
All right, let's move on to Ondo State, where we're seeing, ahead of the primary elections later this month for the Ondo State governorship elections, fresh crisis seems to be creeping in for the APC. Leaders and chieftains are sharply divided over the choice of anointed aspirants to fly the party's flag. When we're looking at aspirants, right, especially in Nigeria's political scene, you would see that there are some that are favored by stakeholders in the party or party stalwarts, if you will. You'd see that there are individuals who are the party's chieftain's favorite, as opposed to the general party men who is their favorite, right? And then when you look at elections and the way elections are held in Nigeria, you begin to wonder, is it just the leaders of the party that choose who should fly the party's flag, as opposed to a democracy where everyone has the opportunity to vote on who they want their aspirant, or rather, who they want the flag bearer to be?
Well, unfortunately, we don't hold primaries in Nigeria. We give tickets to people. That is what we say, that this person was given the ticket. We rarely conduct and win primaries. Even what we do that looks like primaries are basically charades. We just put up the show to convince the powers that be that we are playing playing by the rules. That's why I had the show of shame in Edo State, where you had one primaries and 4 results from the same primaries. We have a democratic system in quote, where the people don't have a voice, where a few persons actually sit down and decide. And most of the time, the few persons are not in agreement. So you now have multiple results, multiple primaries sometimes, and you have all kinds of drama that make all of us look stupid, all of us Nigerians, because these things reflect on us as Nigerians. When you travel outside Nigeria, the kind of questions people ask you, it makes it obvious that they are wondering what's happening to all of us. When you talk intelligently, they'll ask you, so what's happening to Nigeria if people like you are there? What's really wrong with our country? So it's sad that though we claim to be democratic, we have a constitution that says, oh, this is how we do things. People are so determined to sabotage everything. A country with so many rules, but people don't want to play by the rules. But there are countries that have so few rules, and the people are determined to just respect the few rules. I think the problem of Nigeria is that the individuals, it's something I said quite some weeks ago, that it's not just about the kind of government and even the constitution we have. It's also about the quality of the citizens. We have not decided to create citizens that are aware, that are educated, not necessarily certificated, but educated. If you permit me, I'll say enlightened. Because when citizens are not enlightened, democracy becomes a popularity contest. So a drunkard who is popular can win the election, and he goes to the house or wherever, and he continues drinking. So we need to get an enlightened electorate. So when you come to primaries, for instance, the party members will insist that it should be a level playing field, starting with removing this 50 million expression of interest and nomination forms and all of that. So we need to review what we call our democracy. It's not working. That's the truth. And as long as our so-called democracy is commercialized, we cannot produce genuine leaders. This is a political business we are running. And we cannot produce leaders that will save Nigeria through this present process of leadership selection. It's impossible, because it's basically about the fact that leadership goes to the highest bidder. And the highest bidder is usually not an altruistic leader. The highest bidder is a businessman. So when he bids and he wins the bid, he does business with his bid. That's how it works. So we need to begin to ask ourselves this question: where do we get it right? If we don't begin to get it right from the process of primaries, forget the elections, because more often than not, the people they throw up, that is the different political parties, throw up candidates that discerning voters don't like. Okay. That is, whether you vote A or B, you are in trouble. It's between the devil and the deep blue sea. So we need to go and fix our political process, starting from the primaries. And that is what is playing out in Ondo. As it's played out in Edo. And it's the general thing. The big boys sit down and they select. Then they quarrel among themselves. They go to court. Sometimes even while election is going on, they're still in court looking at who won primaries. Isn't it embarrassing? Why can't we finish the issue of primaries before we go to the elections, and then finish the issue of elections before swearing in? Isn't it common sense? Okay. But because politicians don't want to create rules that will enable men and women of integrity to lead Nigeria, they prefer the charade. They prefer the swimming in the mud, because they know that decent people don't want to join them in the mud.
Okay. All right. Mr. Larry, you touched on something very significant to our conversation this morning. You said, after election, they go to court. Even during election or before election, they are still in court. Or they're in election they've not even conducted in the first place. Now, this leads me to the drama going on in Kogi State. We know that Kogi just concluded its election. And, of course, we've seen the anointed candidate of the former governor winning the election. And I don't want to talk about the drama currently within the state, but let's talk about the Kogi Election Petition Tribunal sitting in Abuja and what transpired yesterday. According to reports, it was said that, the tribunal, the witnesses during the tribunal actually recanted what they said during deposition. Basically, let me give you a background so you get to understand what happened. During the election, 4 witnesses were called upon and they gave their statement during deposition. But during cross-examination, they both denied all the candidates, the 4 witnesses, who said almost similar things during their deposition. During cross-examination, have now recanted what they said. They say they did not write it. They weren't the one that said those. Though. One actually said that he is, an agent of the party. And during his deposition, he actually said election did not hold in certain areas. There was no validly accredited voters. But during the cross-examination, he said he even voted. So how do you say come from there was no election, there was no validly accredited voters, but during cross-examination, you now said you voted. So who accredited you? So many disparities in what is happening right now in the Kogi State Tribunal. But looking at what is playing out, what does this even mean? Going for election tribunals in Nigeria?
We are just deceiving ourselves. First of all, we'll go to the field and deceive ourselves and claim we have held elections. Then after that, we proceed to the courts to also deceive ourselves, to pretend that, the courts have ruled. First of all, we need to get away from courts deciding electoral outcomes on a large scale in Nigeria. It's not good. The people are getting disillusioned. When you call them to come and vote, they will be wondering, why should we vote when eventually it's the court that will decide who won the election? That is very important. But the other aspect that made me laugh is the fact that people will go to court and they play with the court. We need to get to that point where we sanitize processes, whether it's primaries, elections, or even when we go to court on any matter. If they were supposed to make statements ab initio, I think we should have insisted on statements under oath. In other words, they should have deposed to affidavits. Because this is about the destiny of a whole state. People shouldn't come and make casual statements. Because assuming they deposed to affidavits, it would have been incumbent on them to either align themselves with the affidavits they deposed, or they can be tried for perjury, that is for lying under oath. But the problem is this: as a people, we love loopholes. Our people deliberately create loopholes for money making, for deception across the board. So even the people who are going to witnesses in electoral cases also could have a life-changing experience, if you get what I mean. Because when you have damaging evidence, somebody could have a conversation with you, and your damaging evidence will fly out of the window. So we need to make these processes more serious. In fact, it is election tribunals that have reduced our judiciary to the present sorry state, where people have all but lost confidence in the judiciary. We need to be careful about politics and elections in Nigeria, especially the politicians and their conduct. They are practically smearing everything that they touch. If they touch the police, they will smear it. They touch the judiciary, they will smear anything they touch. They infect with the corrupt attitude that has actually become the hallmark of our politics. And we need to find a way to protect our judiciary. If not, after some time, justice will be practically on the auction block, and anybody who can be the highest bidder will buy. And we don't want to go
Mr.
there.
Larry, we know that when it comes to the legal system in Nigeria, depositions are usually done under oath. Yes, and if you are actually being given a statement, or you write your statement by an officer of the courts, and you write this, or you give, whether it's verbal statement under oath, if at the end of the day you're recounting what you said, or you're saying something opposite what you actually said during deposition, is this not perjury? And perjury in the Nigerian criminal
that's
code.
What I said earlier. If they made ordinary statement. Let me explain what I mean. If they made, you see, there's a difference between a statement. If I go to a police station and I write a statement on a sheet of paper, it's not the same thing as an affidavit. It's made under caution, but not under oath. So I don't know the kind of statement they made, but that's why I said that we need to have certain processes, for instance, that should recommend that anybody who is making a statement of giving evidence in an electoral matter must be under oath. So it won't just be a statement, but after you make your statement, that statement will be actually reduced to an affidavit, and the person will depose to an affidavit. This is my statement under oath. And of course, if you go and say tomorrow, oh no, that is not what you said again, then that's a criminal matter altogether. You have to begin to explain. So how come you didn't know what you were saying? But if it's a regular statement, and I suspect that, I mean, you're talking about statements, so right statements, because somebody, I mean, you are talking about lawyers basically bringing them to court. If the lawyers are good at what they do and they decided to pull back from what they said earlier, which is basically assuming it's under oath, the lawyers should also begin to explore the issue of perjury. Unfortunately, Nigerians are not detailed. Nigerians are not detailed about things generally, not only legal practice, because very often people walk away with perjury. In fact, perjury is not seen as a crime in Nigeria. What I mean is, it happens every day. People come out in public, they post to affidavits, make statements under oath, and the next day they say something else, because we are so used to lying and liars that we don't even realize or remember anymore that is an offense, a crime to commit perjury. So we need to also remind our legal practitioners and everybody that is involved in enforcing the law that if a person makes a statement under oath, you can't just walk away from the statement and say something else. Today, they didn't vote in the polling unit. Tomorrow, you voted. How does that work? How do you reconcile it? So I think we need to get to that point where we are serious. And our legal practitioners should be thorough. So that if a person does something wrong while the case is ongoing, you can initiate another case. You can write a petition, initiate a criminal prosecution while that other civil matter is going on. If the person commits perjury, we need to get to that point.
Anyway,
unfortunately, we are not there yet.
Let me put this out for information purpose, and then we'll move on to another headline. According to the Criminal Code of Nigeria, Criminal Code Act in Nigeria, Section 118, perjury is punishable. Anyone who commits perjury is liable to imprisonment for up to 14 years. And the question is, why haven't we seen a lot of Nigerians, especially those who lied under oath, spending this same time? Because this is almost the same time as the law passed for gays. So all of them 14 years in prison for perjury. But we've not seen that happen. But we'll leave that. I will move on to another headline. Let's talk about the drama in Kaduna State.
All right. There's an issue here raised by the governor of the state, the sheer volume of debt that was inherited by the governor of the state. He talked about the fact that he inherited a debt burden of 85 billion naira and $587 million and 115 contractual liabilities from his predecessor, Nasir El-Rufai, which he said is now affecting the payment of workers' salaries. And, some people have come out to talk about the fact that they should have charged the governor to go after all the corporates and bring them to justice. But let's hear what the governor himself had to say about this particular situation.
His body of about $587 million, 85 billion naira, and 115 constructional liability sadly inherited from the previous administration. We remain resolute in steering Kaduna towards.
I don't know about you, but I'm not hearing anything.
Oh, okay.
You can't hear it from your end, but we can hear it from ours.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Despite the huge body of about $587 million, 85 billion naira, and 115 constructional liability sadly inherited from the previous administration, we remain resolute in steering Kaduna State towards progress, sustainable development. We have conducted a thorough assessment of our situation.
Okay, so you, Mr. Larry, we touched on this yesterday. Looking at the figures quoted by Obasani, the governor of the state: $587 million, 85 billion naira, 115 contractual liabilities, and also we talked about, one of the APC women leader who was suspended by the party yesterday because she came out to criticize Obasani for making such revelation. So now this is an update on that particular story. The lady herself, that's the woman leader, Mariam Suleiman, has now come out to say that she has no regrets over criticizing, Governor Obasani for making such shocking revelations to Nigeria. So she feels no regret or no remorse at all. And she said she only read of a suspension on social media, although she's yet to receive any suspension letter from the party. She feels no remorse about it.
It's interesting that you said such shocking results from when it comes to the numbers that was reeled out by the governor of the state. How many governors do we see, and how many governors do we see leaving monies in the coffers of the state? How many? We can count them in about 3 fingers. How many governors do we actually see leave monies in the coffers of the state?
I think
as
the only
opposed
governor,
to debt?
the only governor in Nigeria that we've seen done that.
I think we need to also begin to look at the political culture again. The governor did something simple. As a matter of fact, what he did should have been done by El-Rufai. If you are handing over to a governor, that to your successor, you should actually hand over the assets and liabilities clearly written. You don't do proper handover. That is, sometimes governors don't hand over at all. They just do a committee that will plan the celebrations and they walk away. They don't do proper handover. They don't say, this is how much money we have, these are the banks where we have them, these are our liabilities, these are the institutions that we are owing. They don't do that for obvious reasons. If you have 115 contractor liabilities and you still have hundreds of millions, more than $500 million outstanding, and 87 billion naira, if I'm not mistaken, you begin to ask yourself, so what was this money used for if you still have 115 contractor liabilities? I think we shouldn't even be complaining yet. I'm surprised that this woman was disappointed or complaining about Obasanjo just mentioning figures. I think Obasanjo should go ahead and look at how the loans were expended, which I know he won't have the courage to do. But people who are complaining that he just explained why he's finding it difficult to pay salaries are not being fair to him. His predecessor would have actually given us these figures. But because he can't give us the figures, because he cannot explain how he managed the resources, he decided not to give us. Why they are offended is because we have this culture that compels us to choose our successor so that they will keep quiet about such incidents. That's basically why some people are not happy with Obasanjo. That is, the assumption is that if I anoint you, why do governors struggle to get their successors? Because they want their sins to be covered by their successors. So they are not wanting, what kind of successor is this that is not covering Oga's sin? But then the man is under pressure to explain to his people why he cannot pay. And he just explained. He has not gone after his Oga. He has not done anything beyond just telling us that this is the weight I'm struggling with. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think he should go further and say, where is our money? How did he use this money? I'm sure he won't be able to do that the way our politics is wired. But those who are disturbing him or harassing him or talking to him anyhow because he told us what he's passing through with this large debt, you shouldn't do that, please. I mean, we also have a duty to defend him in the sense that the world should know that what he did is right, and he just took half the step. The other half is that he should ask questions. So where did the money go? If I have 115 contractor liabilities, what was done with all of this money? It's a legitimate question to ask.
All right.
And somebody should answer.
Mr. Larry, at this point, you raised something that is of a huge concern. Is this handover from one government to the other? And we see governors not doing a proper handover, letting them know just exactly what was done by the previous administration to aid governance into or smoothing the process into the new administration. Isn't there something that we can do, or isn't there a mechanism within the civil service to aid this particular, whose job rather it is to ensure that there's a smooth transition process for the outgoing and incoming?
I'm thinking as a person that we should get to that point. Since they have decided to do the wrong thing, we should create a standard procedure for handing over. That is the minimum information you should give to your successor, not only for governors, but for ministers and everybody. And it should be detailed. It should be detailed, not just in terms of finances, but also in terms of human resources, outstanding liabilities, outstanding credit. Everything should be detailed. And I think we need to legislate on this matter. That is, we should legislate both at the federal and state levels, so that if someone is coming in to take an office, whether you're taking the office of a commissioner, the head of the ministry, the head of an agency, wherever, you should have certain minimum information that enables you to see where that ministry or agency or state or whatever is, so you can plan and make progress. You shouldn't come in and become a police officer and start investigating first of all. That shouldn't be the case. We should get also to the point where we need to have maybe a summary of monthly inflows and outflows, cash and other financial resources, because there is a trend, a pattern where state governors especially, and commissioners, ministers, all of those guys spend a fortune in the last 2-3 months of every administration. It's scandalous. That is, they just find ways to spend money, so that this is like the last song for us. So let's get all we can and put it in the can, so that we don't know if we're coming back. So we need to have processes that will stop some of this or minimize some of this kind of behavior. The only challenge we may have is that this kind of legislation is supposed to also come from the same men and women who benefit from the rot in the land. They are the same people who don't want to hand over. They are the same people who don't want us to know what they are doing. They are very opaque in their transactions. So if we want this to happen, it means we are going to start talking about it. We'll have to place a demand on them until somebody who is bold enough, maybe in the National Assembly, will begin to say, can we create a standard operating procedure? And this is also what we should use things like executive orders to do, without even passing the legislative route. Mr. President can have an executive order and say, if you're a minister under my watch, if you are this and that, this is how you hand over. Simple. Unfortunately, we don't think about these processes. And because of so many loopholes, people just do what they like. Some governors travel before they hand over. Some just don't want to bother with it. They just, like I said, prepare the jamboree, and then after the jamboree, everybody will go, and then you go and find out if any money is remaining. If there's no money remaining, you raise your own money. That is not good enough. We are not supposed to be policemen on patrol. Sorry that I use that expression, but some of you may not understand. Maybe one day we'll talk about the policemen on patrol syndrome, where you don't want to leave fuel in the tank for the next person who will use the car. You buy your fuel, you use it for the patrol. So let the next patrolman buy his own fuel. It's a mentality in Nigeria, and it's a sad one.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry, for joining the conversation this morning. I wish you a very wonderful day.
And you too. Thank you for the honor and the privilege to keep talking on the voice of the people.
All right, Sports Beats is up next at 8:30. Make sure you keep it locked on VOP 96.1 FM. My name is Gesere.
And I am Simeon Sunday. Catch you at the top of the hour, 9 o'clock.